Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I'm getting through this day. Sick, but unbowed and coming up. Habib Redigur from Israel. I got a lot going on, but I'm proud to have back Comfortably Smug, one of the four horsemen of the Ruthless podcast, your must-listen to twice weekly dose of reality when it comes to politics. Smug, I had planned after finishing Tuesday's episode to talk to you only about Act Blue and its unfortunate ongoing demise, but I've got to change. Because Democrats have decided over the last 48 hours to throw in with Mahmoud Khalil in one of the great branding decisions of political idiocy of all time. You know politics pretty well. Does this surprise you that Democrats are rallying around a pro-Hamas demonstrator on an LPR who wants to destroy America's, the equal of any of America's strategic allies, thus making even an LPR green card holder eligible for immediate deportation?
No, I mean, sadly, it doesn't surprise me. If you look at the views held by this radical extreme gentleman, it's actually basically become the platform of the Democrat Party itself. We saw, throughout the previous election, how much the Democrats threw themselves in with this anti-Semitic fervor that you see in campuses. That's really gripped that party, the grassroots of that party. And so when you see so many Democrats mobilize in New York City, for example, today, and what's the cause that they're mobilizing for? It's to keep someone who hates America and is a threat to America in America. For a country that they think is so fallen and irredeemable, it's really amazing how hard they fight to stay here. I just can't understand it.
Now, Smug, there are three issues that are defining the Democrats in opposition. Three. One is now Mahmoud Khalil and hating Israel. The second is trans extremism, both boys playing in girls' sports and the member of Congress being recognized by her chosen pronoun. They get very upset about that. And then there's hating on Elon Musk and Tesla. Of those three, which is the stupidest?
Oh, man, that's the toughest question you've asked me today. Boy, honestly, I would have to say it's this Mahmoud gentleman. There is no way that taking the lessons of what they've seen beyond just how he's anti-Israel, how he's an extremist, on the immigration basis, if you look at polling, right now, there has never been a time where President Trump has polled this high when it comes to immigration. He is net positive. That's the first time in his first presidency, in this presidency, he is net positive when it comes to immigration. So when you have a clear-cut example of an individual who is in the United States and clearly should no longer be in the United States, for the Democrats to take the opposite on this, they didn't learn from the previous election that, listen, Americans are fed up with this ridiculous immigration policy that we've had, which has led to open borders, crimes, and so many problems in America. You have a clear-cut case of an individual who needs to be deported, and they're taking the other side. It's unbelievable the Democrats are letting this happen.
Well, I was on Fox America's newsroom yesterday, and Dana and Bill asked me what I thought was going on. I was saying, pretty easy. If you have an 80-20 issue, the Democrats go for the 20 every time. And they are driven there. I think this is going to connect with the original story. You guys have been following the rolling dismantling of Act Blue. There's a lot of smoke, and when there's a lot of smoke, there's usually a fire in the electrical system. And the electrical system is the back room where they're making the money. Do you think that the power of the Act Blue radical brand has fooled basically normal Democrats into believing they have to believe these extremist positions?
I mean, that's the thing, is that party has taken such a top-down approach in control, where you saw going back to when Hillary was running against Bernie and they got Bernie out of the way. And then you saw them do it again when Biden got the field cleared for him. And then you saw it happen again with the coronation of Kamala. So when it comes to money, when it comes to picking the candidate, the Democrat Party and the left has had such a tight grip on control for so long. It's why you saw so many of, blue dog Democrats start voting for Trump. It's why they've lost control of the center, because their radical left position that they've dictated down, top down to their entire party, they're starting to lose grip.
Now, you're too young to remember when Rush broke onto the scene in 1989. And he began the Rush to Excellence tour, and he would go around the country. You guys have done a couple of live events. I think if you bring Ruthless out to the West Coast, you can fill many an arena. And if you get here in time, maybe you can cover in depth Katie Porter versus Kamala Harris. Because we're going to have the greatest general election in 2026. Because we have a jungle primary, meaning that we get the top 2 vote getters. One's going to be Kamala Harris. The other's going to be Katie Porter. It's going to be a dive to the bottom of idiocy. And you guys have just got to come out here and cover that. Which one is going to win, do you think?
I mean, honestly, I hope it's Kamala. I would love to see that kind of failed mentality, just absolute talentless individual continue to be the standard bearer for the Democrat Party. Whether
You've
it's
not met
in a
Katie
statewide
Porter,
election,
have you?
Anywhere.
So
Katie
Porter,
I remember Katie
she's
Porter
pretty
with
close.
the Batman outfit. I remember the stories of her like burning her husband's scalp. Like, these are both very deranged people. So it's a toss up. But I love Kamala already has the stink of failure on a national level. I want that to be the Democrats' brand.
Yeah, but it's way too close to the Nixon story. Lose the presidency, then lose the California governorship, and then up running the country. All right, now I'm going to put you on the clock as well for 2028. Donald Trump can't run, and so I'm not going to ask you who the Republican's going to be because we don't know who that's going to be. A lot will depend on what the president says. But who do you think the Democrats are going to? They're so deranged, and I really mean I think they've lost their mind in a way unlike anything I've seen, and I barely remember 1972, and they were nuts then. But Mondale was pretty nuts in '84. This goes way beyond that. Who are they going to throw up there?
So I think this goes back to what I mentioned about the top-down approach. It's going to be the real test of where the Democrat Party is, because in presidential elections, they don't like primaries, they like coronations. We already got news that Tim Walz is interested in running. I would love for that to happen.
Please, God.
I don't know if he has the support.
Please, God.
Yeah, we can only hope for Tim Walz.
Hey, okay, but who's going to moderate those debates? There's not going to be a network left that will want to have those debates, do you think? It's going to be like a reverse negative polarization for their ratings.
I would be more than happy to have Ruthless host the Democrat debates. For so long we've had Republicans go and have to deal with like Margaret Brennan. It's about time Democrats have to deal with us.
All right, now, Gavin Newsom began his podcast. I kind of like the governor. We email. He promises to come on like 100 times. He never shows up. He's glib. He's funny. He's the best face you can put on a failed Democratic Party. But I think Gavin's going to get in. Have you invited Gavin to do a ride-along with Smug? I mean, with Ruthless?
Well, that's an interesting thing. So this whole discussion which has been going on lately of he had Charlie Kirk on his show. He just had Bannon on his show. And there's a school of thought which is, some conservatives are saying this is dangerous. If you're going to make him look more, giving him a platform makes him look more reasonable and likable, and he's a dangerous candidate. And then the other school of thought is the more you put him on, the more vast, groups of Americans become aware of what a failure he's been as a governor, how California has turned, there's horrific parts of California that if they're not burning, then they're full of drugs and homelessness, and it's not safe to take your family outside, and you have kids who try to walk home from school and there's needles all over the sidewalk. It's horrific. So I would love to give him a platform. I would love to have him come on Ruthless, whether he did a ride along or whatever. We could just step by step, we could go through his whole resume.
Katie Porter was my congressman when I lived out here, and her district includes the Newport Beach Pier. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but for the variety part of the Ruthless program, I'm going to play your producer. Go look up the unfortunate incident where someone crazy with a gun drove down the Newport Pier when it was crowded, was pursued by police officers and shot dead. It looked like he was going to go over the end of the pier, then he stopped, got out, and started shooting it. I mean, California is absolutely out of its mind right now. And so
it really is.
If you bring Ruthless, are you ever going to go on the road beyond D.C.?
100%. We've visited Minnesota, tons of states.
That doesn't count. You had Secret Service protection. You had SEALs. you had the 101st Airborne. That doesn't count.
I would love to go back to California. I think doing it from the Nixon Library would be a great place. We could get a great crowd there.
Bingo. Jim Byron's gone to D.C. to run the archives. So you're going to deal with Joe
That's
Lopez,
right.
The new director. But I hope you do it. The library would be great. Thank you, Smug. Always a pleasure. Be well. Ruthless is where you got to go to see Smug tomorrow for their Thursday edition. Be well.